Hi guys! Today I'm going to show you an easy way of taming your delays so they don't interfere with your dry signal. This can be particularly useful on vocals, turning down the volume of the delay while the vocal is present and allowing it to ring out when there is space between phrases. We'll do this using sidechain compression. Before we get started, a quick shout out to Chipps on the ImageLine forums who asked me to make this video. Hi Chipps! Okay, so I've got my dry vocal without any delay routed to mixer channel 2. The first step is to route them to another mixer channel where we'll add the delay. To do that, select the dry vocal channel and then click on the little arrow at the bottom of another mixer channel to send the vocal to that channel. Let's rename and color this channel so we know what it is. Press F2 in the mixer to rename the selected channel. Let's call it Vox Send. I like to color my sends blue to help me identify them in the mixer quickly. The dry vocals on mixer channel 2 are now routed to both the master and the send on channel 3. Mixer channel 3 is also routed to the master. The next step is to add a delay on channel 3. I'm going to load up delay 2 because it's included in FL Studio. After the delay, add Fruity Limiter, which will be used to compress the dry signal using the dry vocals as a trigger for the compressor. Add Fruity Limiter and switch to the compressor settings. Right-click the Sidechain drop-down list to select the channel you want to trigger the compressor, in this case, the dry vocals channel. You can select any channel that is routed to this channel in the mixer. If I route another mixer channel to the send channel, it will also show up in the drop-down. A lot of the time when you are sidechaining, such as using a kick in an EDM track to create a pumping effect, you want to set the send level to 0. If you do this, you won't hear the kick playing on the target track but can still use it for sidechain compression. You set the send level using the knob here. Even when turned to 0, the channel will still show up in the drop-down. You can automatically route a track with the volume turned to 0 by right-clicking the routing arrow and choosing the sidechain option. I'm going to remove the channel routing I just added by clicking the arrow again, as we don't need them right now. Now, because we want to apply a delay to the dry vocal signal, we don't want the send volume to be 0, so I'm going to leave it at the default. Because we already have the dry signal routed to the master, I'm going to set the dry volume in Fruity Delay 2 to 0. This means that we'll only have the delayed audio on mixer channel 3. If you are using another delay, you might have a knob called wet or mix that does the same thing. Just make sure your signal is 100% wet. For example, in H delay, which I originally used on this track, the setting is called dry wet. These are the settings I used in this track. Note how I've set the knob to 100% wet. In delay 2, I'm going to set the delay time to 2 steps or an 1/8 note to sync it to the tempo of the track. I'm going to turn down the feedback amount so the delay doesn't ring out forever. I'll also turn down the cutoff on the feedback. This tends to make the delay a little smoother. Now it's time to set up Fruity Limiter to compress the delay based on the volume of the dry vocals. It's a good idea to tweak your settings while the song is playing, as it will make setting the threshold and release much easier. When I press play, you'll see a blue curve that indicates the level of the sidechain input, in this case, the dry vocals. The threshold needs to be below this level for the compressor to do anything. You'll probably need to turn down the threshold quite a bit, as it will need to be well below the blue curves to get the effect we want.
What to do, what to say, better just to smile. Jib and jab about the weather, meet the crocodile. Have you been just jump?
If you can't see the blue curve well, you can disable the input and output graphs in the visualizer. Note that you won't see the blue curve if the threshold is at 0, which means the compressor is disabled. I'm going to set the ratio relatively high so we get a fair amount of compression, meaning the volume is turned down a lot more when the dry vocals are playing. I'm going to set the attack relatively low so the compression is applied quickly. This means that whenever the dry vocals start after a break, the delay is almost immediately reduced in volume, getting it out of the way of the dry vocals. I'm going to turn up the sustain, This sets a time window in milliseconds, and the average level of the signal over that time period is used to trigger the compression. The higher the sustain, the longer the window. Because the level is averaged out over this time period, a higher sustain results in less drastic changes to the compression. Sudden spikes in the level of the dry vocals will not have as pronounced an effect on the compression. I personally like using curve setting 3 for this sort of thing, but feel free to experiment with the other options and check the manual for an overview of the curve settings. The release determines how quickly your delay gets louder or is no longer compressed once the dry signal dips below the threshold. This will allow the delay to ring out at the end of a phrase once the dry vocals stop. This is definitely much easier to dial in while playing the song, so I am going to do that and tweak my values until I get something I like. If you watch the graphs, the white curve indicates how much the delayed signal is being turned down, and you can see very nicely how it comes back up at the end of a phrase.
What to do, what to say, better just to smile. Jibber jab about the weather, feed the crocodile. Have you been, just jump in, yes it's been a while. As the cogs in your mind try to reconcile.
Okay, that seems about right. Let's take a listen to the vocals on their own without the instrumental. Alt-click on a channel's mute button in the mixer to solo that track and any other mixer tracks it is routed to or receiving audio from.
What to do, what to say, better just to smile. Jibber jab about the weather, feed the crocodile. Have you?
Hopefully you can both hear and see that whenever the dry vocals are playing, the delay is turned down and isn't getting in the way. As soon as the dry vocals end, the delay is brought up in level and rings out at the end of the phrases. I can turn up the feedback to make it easier to hear.
What to say, better just to smile. Jibber jab about the weather, feed the crocodile.
The delay is too loud though, so I'm going to turn it down in the mixer.
What to do, what to say, better just to smile. Jibber jab about the weather, feed the crocodile. Have you been, just jump in, yes it's been a while.
This trick also works well with reverb too. I'm going to add Oriole River, which is a great free reverb, after the delay, but before Fruity Limiter. I've already made a preset for this track, so I'm going to load that. Let's listen again to the vocals, first on their own, and then with the instrumental playing to hear how that sounds.
What to do, what to say, better just to smile. Jibber jab about the weather, feed the crocodile. Have you been, just jump in, yes it's been a while. As the cogs in your mind try to reconcile.
One last thing, because of the way the routing is set up, we can't listen to just the delay on its own. If I solo the delay channel, we don't hear anything because the dry vocal channel is muted. We can fix that by using Fruity Send to route the audio from the dry channel to the delay channel. I'll add Fruity Send to the dry vocals channel at the end of the chain. I can choose where to send the audio from the drop-down in Fruity Send. Again, the choices in this menu are based on your mixer routing. There's just one problem. I'm now sending the dry signal to the delay channel twice, once with Fruity Send and once using the mixer routing, so I'm going to set the send volume in the mixer to 0. Now, the audio is only being sent through Fruity Send, and if I solo the delay channel, we can listen to just the delay on its own.
What to do, what to say, better just to smile. What to do, what to say, better just to smile.
So there you have it. An easy way to automate the volume of your effects to prevent them from overpowering your dry signal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
She drives her lovers in an old Mercedes. Had enough of your put-offs and